So Barbara, I mean, I love this part of your experience, and I could spend all day, probably more than a day, talking about it, because there's so many examples, there's so many analogies that we can look at, you know, specifically around the leadership component of this successful world record. So, I mean, the question I'll ask now is, I suppose for you, what are the sort of the most transferable, you know, sort of leadership learnings that you can take from that particular experience, and then we can, you know, sort of transfer them and transmit them into an organizational context?
Mm-hmm. I think there's like three key things for me. This facilitation of the environment for individuals to succeed. I think that probably summarizes it up. And I'm probably similar to it, like a parent. You want to facilitate, you know, the environment for your child to basically get the best out of be able to get your child to get the best out of their lives.
Sure.
I think there's 3 points to that. So as skydiving as well as in the business as a leader, I think it's important that the trust, build a network of trust is really crucial, especially in skydiving, because obviously there's a lot on stake. A mistake has fatal consequences. So it's really about being able to trust each other, that we have the capabilities, we are honest about our capabilities, and also being able to raise if there are any issues, because it put potentially other people's life on risk. So we really have this trust, building this trust, and it's not something which is a given. It obviously needs, especially in skydiving as well, there's people from all over the world we haven't met before. And sometimes to know that the leaders are comfortable, that these people which are in this group of, you know, in skydiving attempt or in a training camp, they have these capabilities. I've been in this situation where I have been, we call it being cut, you know, being cut out of this group because obviously didn't have the capability. And that was important to have a leadership team to make this decision, to ensure that everybody else feels safe in this environment. So it's really about the trust amongst each other. I think the other one is just about the safe environment. So to have basically create and sustain a physical but also psychological safe environment. And I think in business that is really important as well. A lot of the focus in business is really about physical environment. I think more it's also about the psychological environment, that people feel safe where they are, how they're working, how they're engaging. I think it's a very, very important part. Skydiving, absolutely psychological safe environment besides the physical psychological environment. Obviously we need to make sure that people feel comfortable to speak up, and also feel comfortable with, you know, the pressure which they put on potentially on performance on a certain day, that they can actually handle that. So that's really important. You know, the psychological part is really driving performance, or is also limiting performance. And obviously to have this empowerment and to feel mentally healthy, that actually helps with the performing. And generally we look, you know, just on skill set. If somebody has the skill set and you know, has been able to perform that in certain specific, and the mental piece has not been that much taken in account in a lot of these areas. As a leader, facilitate this environment as a safe and trusted environment, and guide individuals to deal with randomness and ongoing certainty, especially now where we, in our situation we are, to control and balance their responses, sometimes without expectations. And I think that's very challenging. I think to be able to do that as a leader, you have to have a really good self-awareness of where you're sitting, how you're reacting to stress, how you're reacting to randomness, how you're dealing with it. And we all have our historical behavior to survive, and maybe to react and respond to that. Yeah, I think sometimes what I see in leadership environments, and just obviously talking to leaders a lot in coaching, it's just having these high goals on achievement. and obviously working in different environments, and also as a skydiver, as an athlete, I completely understand that. Like it's about being a high achiever and having these goals and these big dreams, and having these great extraordinary achievements done. However, there's a lot of people might not have this this goal to be extraordinary, and it's also to have this appreciation of being ordinary as an individual, which I think will then allow people to really reveal some new potentials to be extraordinary, if this makes sense. It's a bit contradictory, but when I say it in this way, but it's really to, I think, to celebrate success of being ordinary sometimes, and taking off this fear of always being a high performer in many ways, because we can't all be high performer.